Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the live stream. Today's date is January 17th. We're here for the New York AM session. And I want to welcome back all the subscribers, everyone who's visited the live stream before and coming back for another dose. Thank you for your repeat visit. I really appreciate it. And also I want to welcome anyone who's brand new, who got a referral from another subscriber, or you just saw a link on YouTube and wanted to join. I want to welcome you to the channel as well. We're going to give everyone just a couple minutes and we'll get in and we'll do a top-down analysis. We'll also review the news that has been released this morning. As a matter of fact, let me just leave it on the chart for a second and then we'll get going in about 1 to 2 minutes. Right, Orshek. We're ready. We're here. Relaxation. Good morning. Is it Danovis? Good morning to you as well. All right, Randolph. Good morning. How's it going? Let's have a good day today. All right, Janice. Janus. All right. Rainmaker, welcome. Good morning. All right, first things first. So let's get started now with just our introduction while we're waiting for more viewers to join. Usually we get a good portion of our viewers to jump in right around opening bell time, but we want to use the next 10 minutes wisely while we have it. So I just wanted to throw up where we are with the news release this morning. So we did have core retail sales as well as retail sales, both month over month comparisons released this morning. And both, as we can see, were better than forecast. And remember, this is related to currency and the dollar and how strong it's going to be. So these are good signs for the dollar, which not really the best sign for commodities, but it could just signal a retracement that commodities need to make anyway. Also, just a few minutes ago, just as we were getting on, industrial production month over month came out, and they thought it was going to be a slight retraction of 0.1%, but instead, it looks like there was an expansion of 0.1%. So again, moving in the opposite direction. Excuse me, but all good signs for the dollar. All right, let's keep in mind this World Economic Forum annual meeting. Today is day 3 of the 5-day meeting. And so just in case something crazy happens, maybe that means that one of the foreign ministers or one of the banking executives or someone came out and made a statement for either pro or against the economy for this year. And there may be a reaction based on that. But with that being said, I think that's all we have for the news. So there shouldn't be any scheduled news for today. And so there's really not another need for us to refer back. But we do need to keep in mind that there was strong news for the dollar this morning. All right, now we can see exactly how the dollar responded to that. On the daily, we see the dollar continuing to push higher. This was yesterday's candle, which was quite strong after having essentially 6 or 7 consecutive days of really consolidation in inside zone trading. We see a high was made there and a low was made here on Friday the 5th. and then it had all of last week trade inside of that area without breaching not even a fair value gap, which is strange. But we did see yesterday a strong breakout, and we see a continuation so far this morning. I went ahead and marked up where half of this wick is up top, but more than likely, if it gets up here, it's going to be going for these equal highs here. All right, so we see it's already taken out the fair value gap here. It hasn't closed, because remember, this is the daily, so we could see it push up and before the day is over, retract back and still land inside of this fair value gap. So let me extend it a little more. And yep, so that's where the dollar is on the daily. And if we skip down to the 4-hour, slightly larger fair value gap, we're still inside of that zone right now. So we haven't traded out of it yet. And so this is an area where it may lose traction and we may see the dollar move the other direction. But as of now, we can see that the dollar is bullish and has been all morning, as well as continuation from yesterday. Okay, relative equal highs here on the hour from 1 o'clock this morning, as well as the last hour at 8 o'clock. See, this is just like on a 4-hour, you had a larger fair value gap to trade into. And here on the 1-hour is even larger, going back to December the 13th. Just stretch this across. Excuse me. All right, so on the 1-hour, we can see this is where the dollar is kind of trading. It's right here at this middle zone, this 50% line for the area. And we've seen that from yesterday lunchtime. It kind of rejected out of there. At the end of the day, just kind of been trading up and down, but right around the 50% of this 1-hour fair value gap. So for the dollar, this is probably an interesting area to pay attention to today, just to see if it can trade out of it or if it continues to stay within this area and potentially reject down to some of the lower regions. Right, so that does it for the dollar. We'll jump over and we'll do a quick ES. I'm just looking at the time. All right, back to the daily. All right, let's remove some of these drawings. We don't need them any longer. Okay, still have equal highs, have not been taken out yet. We had 2 daily candles that almost reached that point, both rejected towards the end of their day, their trading day. And now we see lower values. This is expected, especially on today. We can see a big sell-off today from the opening yesterday at 1800. But that also supports the narrative of what we see with the news and better economic data, signaling a stronger dollar for the day on the backing of retail sales month over month. And so we now see the daily of the dollar trading into this fair value gap. And so it's interesting to see at the opening bell or 10 o'clock or sometime this morning, whether we get a rejection out of this area or we get a push below. And then we're looking for an even larger fair value gap area. Right. If we just take a Fibonacci for this leg here, that gives us a retracement of greater than 50%, less than 62. Right. If we now go and extend for an even larger portion, maybe one structure we're broken. We're not even at 38% retracement yet. And if we do the entire leg, of course, we're not even at 25%. So we have quite a ways to go on as far as the retracement is concerned. So let's just continue to monitor price as it seeks lower levels and just see where that bounce may come from. But right now on the daily, it's inside of a fair value gap with a much larger one below. But if it goes below, keep in mind where we have right here a swing low. Now the swing low does not change our, actually, if I'm looking at this correctly, actually, we already had a change in market structure. We had a high here with a key low here, which was broken on the downswing. So this failure swing is actually kind of predicted. And so now let's see how we behave as we get below this fair value gap and as we touch this one, whether we shoot for lower lows, because we can see it did hit 50% of this fair value gap, this one here. So it did trade to there, which gives it almost a balanced price range. So it could have moved out and taken new highs. But so far that hasn't happened. So let's not be surprised if we get lower levels for ES. And my guess is we'll probably see the same on Nasdaq when we get there. Right, same fair value gap, multiple below. All right, equal highs up here. If there wants to be a short-term rally, there could be a run up to 4,800 flat. Relative equal highs here, 4,815. So just keep an eye on those levels today. And let's move to Nasdaq really quickly. Since this is where we're going to spend most of our day, we can always come back to this later. All right, same thing. We had a high here, low there, swept 2 weeks ago. We did have a rally. That rally has lost some of its steam in this fair value gap. It was rejected 3 different times. Now we see a push down below this fair value gap, which is where we see price stuck in ES. So it's moving for this larger area, which I pointed to in ES as where we would likely go if this area didn't hold. So let's see how price reacts once we get to this much larger area. I mean, it's from 756 all the way down to 335. We're talking 400 points on the daily. We get down to a smaller time frame. It's still quite large here. But the 4 hours has a large one here and plus another one right in this area. So you can see the, matter of fact, let me delete these so you can see better. All right, so this is what the 4-hour fair value gaps are looking like. While it's not as large as a daily, and we have several that are combined to equal about the same area. So let's just see how price reacts as it starts to enter these fair value gaps, whether we get a bounce or a deeper penetration. Right, here we go with the 1 hour. We had equal lows here, which has just recently been taken out last hour during the 8 o'clock hour. Another set of equal lows here down at 657. So I would say if we start to trade lower, that's where I would be looking. I'm looking for this swing low first, but ultimately down at equal lows. All right, and with that, let's get to the opening bell. If we have further questions, we can always come back. All right, Vivian, good morning. Young, Chuck, Brad, John, good morning, everyone. All right, I'm just taking a look at the hourly, and it looks like ES and Nasdaq are both catching up to the Dow. The Dow was the weaker of the pairs yesterday, and it was trailing behind when they were making their rally. The Dow was not doing that, and so now this big push down we're getting from the ES and S&P. I'm sorry, ES and Nasdaq is to get down to the same similar level as to where the Dow is already. So I'm gonna continue to monitor that and see when they link up again. But for now, it looks like both ES and the Nasdaq are seeking out lower prices, digging through this fair value gap on the hourly chart. Pretty much just pushing right through it. So we'll look and see how it reacts when it gets to the lower one, and that's assuming it's going to push lower soon. But one thing we do want to be aware of and pay attention to is we can see where price began yesterday, right? So this is the 1800 price. So we had opening, and we just saw a flush of price. We saw London open, and we saw flush of price. And so because of that, we know that we have a regular trading hour gap, pretty sizable one here. So anywhere from 824 all the way up to about 960. So you're talking almost 140, 150 points. So let's also keep that in mind as we're looking at price action today. Mondo, good morning. Welcome. $7.36. So we've seen majority of this action in the last couple minutes. As you can see, if I go down to the 5 minute, this is one 5 minute candle from the opening bell. Hey, Dustin DB, good morning. Gap fill, yeah, Dustin. When I saw that this morning, that was the first thing I thought about. I said, man, let me make sure I let everybody know that I recognize the gap today, as opposed to having them remind me. All right, let me get back to the hour. I want to find where the next pool of liquidity after this area. Okay, all right, so this fair value gap here, and then relative equal lows here. 657 and 675. I'm sorry, 753. 753 and 667. Those are the levels. right. Yes, you're right, Vivian. So on the 11th at 11 o'clock, we did. Price came down, touched the very lower edge of this fair value gap and bought straight out of it. We also had a 50% engagement here, which also found support and rejected out and sought higher prices. And saw there was a couple here the day after, but like you said, they all rejected out. They all sought higher prices after entering this level. This is the second time we've gotten this low, and so we just want to look and see how price wants to react from this level, whether it wants to seek lower prices or we'll get a similar rejection into the regular trading hour gap, back up past the midnight and into the new week opening gap area. Echelon, good morning. Wish you also a good day of trading. All right, finally, you got a trade outside of the area, below the area at that. We'll see where we close in another 16 minutes, but we did get a push below the area that held price back on the 11th. Next fair value gap area coming up. Yeah, it does seem that the more visits that a level is, more times a level is visited, the more likely it's going to not hold. You're right, Vivian. All right. As I was talking about 5 minutes ago or so, we still have Nasdaq and S&P pushing for lower prices very similarly, and once again the Dow is actually pushing for higher prices over the last hour. So yeah, like I said, the Dow is looks like it's most likely waiting for the other two to catch up, so they could be trading at similar levels, and then they'll grab hands and then start moving in unison again. So we'll see. But the dollar is also the last hour's high is we're getting ready to be breached any moment now. It's right at the edge of it. All right, so the dollar is pushing higher, S&P and Nasdaq are pushing lower, and the Dow is being different right now. All right, 50 people in the room already. Good start to our day. We're only halfway in, half an hour in. Home builders confidence at 10 a.m. All right, let's see. That must have been a low impact news event. Yep. Okay. All right. So these are all the low impacts. I generally only pay attention to the mediums, the orange, and the high impact, the reds. But you're right, Brad. There are some other events that are occurring. We have business inventory, housing market index, the beige book. Not sure what that is. And one of the FOMC members is speaking at 3. Uh, those are all expected to have little to no impact, but we'll see as we go along. Let's see if there are any of these gray ones. Okay, nothing. All right. Yeah, usually when Vivian, when you have the dollar moving in the opposite direction of the indices, is when you see really fluid movement, a quick willingness to get to a certain price level. So it's just really good for trading. Right, we're nearing hourly lows for the dollar. I'm sorry, for Nasdaq. In fact, let me just move down to back to the 5 minutes since we have the 15-minute in the lower left hand corner. Oh, Bob, good morning. Welcome, Bob. Welcome back. Okay. All right. Everyone recognizes this by now. We're in that time zone. I don't think so. Testing, testing. Oh, there we go. All right. So we'll monitor this 20-minute window here to see if we get a market structure shift or anything major happening. And from there, we'll look for a setup. We're also getting close to 10 o'clock. And I do know there are several traders in the room that likes the silver bullet. So we're approaching that time period as well. All right, Fauci. Thank you. All right. Vivian's a fan of the silver bullet. I know there are many others as well. So we'll see if we can't find that silver bullet entry this morning. All right, everyone. We are closing out on our first hour of this morning session. I'm going to run and grab a refill of my coffee before 10 o'clock gets here. And so just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Thanks. All right, I'm back. All right, I see slightly new lows being put in, but not a lot of progress with price action. And we're getting ready to cross over into 10 o'clock. Okay, so halfway through the macro so far. We've not seen any structure break or anything to note at this moment. So we'll keep watching, and also nothing for the silver bullet just yet. What indicators am I using? Not too many, but I'll show you. So I have the new week opening gap, new day opening gap. So it just puts that one price level on there and it holds it for as long as I have the settings set up for. I have another one that gives me what the midnight open price is and what the 8:30 price is. And you can see those here. So this is where the 8:30 price is, and this is where the midnight price is. I also have FVG from Nephew Sam, which is fair value gap. So it draws these fair value gaps in automatically as they are printed by the candles. And then I have an EMA, a 20 EMA, which I don't really use, but it's there. And then I have this one also that I use for the session highs and lows. The session high and low, and this one is a paid indicator, so it's not one that's freely available on TradingView. But it does give me my Asia high and low, New York high and low, London high and low, and then previous day high and low. So those 8 levels. So for me, most of my indicators are just putting key levels to watch out for, but not necessarily indicators that's telling me you should get into a trade here or you should buy here, sell there, that kind of thing. I don't really have a lot of those indicators. No, we're waiting so far this morning. We have not entered a trade. The Cool J, thank you. Thanks for joining. Good to have you. And also thanks for jumping into the chat. But so far this morning, I have not entered any trades. Nice one, Echelon. Yeah, you're right. ES is definitely pushing. Um, Dow is leading the way on the push up. We have the dollar also selling off this hour, which is a good sign. Let's see if we find support here at the 50% mark of this breaker. See if these relative equal highs can be pushed above next. All right, not quite yet. We got equal highs. Okay, so it has passed now and made a new high. Let's see if that momentum continues. Let me stretch out this breaker a little more. All right, let's see. ES is pulled off of its hourly high, so it's in a similar position as Nasdaq. Um, Again, we see the Dow being the leader in this upwards push, mainly because it was already sitting down and waiting for the last few hours, while ES and Nasdaq were pushing lower. And we see the dollar also pushing lower this hour, but it's retracing a little bit off of its hourly lows. All right. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. We'll see. Let's see how this plays out. Good morning. Good morning, Math. Well, we were looking earlier and we saw the news. The news was very favorable for dollar, so we were expecting the dollar to be pushing higher, which it did. We saw the commodities pushing lower at the opening bell. We're now seeing everything starting to settle, and it looked like the commodity, at least Nasdaq and ES, were making a change in structure and was moving towards more of a short-term bullish bias. So not changing our daily bias, but in the short term, looking for bullish prices. And so that's where we are now. Good morning, CEO. Hey, 10:15. So we've been on for about an hour now. Hope everyone's enjoying the live stream. If you are, show your appreciation by hitting the like button. Okay, let's see. All right, still for the last 10 minutes or so, we've been having quite a bit of consolidation here on this 1 minute time frame. Price has been stuck inside the breaker and not really budging or moving outside of it. I did trade higher for a couple candles, but came right back into the range. Okay. All right, trade into the fair value gap. Let's see if that provides the support we're looking for. That's also the lower range of the breaker here. This is where the breaker and the fair value gap overlap. That's where it is trading right now. Let's see. Okay, S&P, dollar. Yeah, majority of them have retraced pretty much all the progress they've made this hour. So we're back at opening prices at 10 o'clock for the commodities, as well as the dollar's not quite there yet, but it's on its way. So as you can see, yeah, so far the trade is not looking like a good one. We're not stopped out yet, but we are in heavy drawdown. Hmm. Yeah, you're right, Dustin. Right, not looking good. Not at the moment. Right. And it's running up against resistance at the 50% line here of the breaker. It's also, oddly enough, where the 20 EMA is resting. Mm, 15-minute breaker. Okay. And let's see if we can't get a hourly high here. Yeah, I mean, really interested to see where this candle that we're currently in. Let's see where it closes. Hey, all right, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and move stop loss up to a safer position. You're right. Save fair value gap. Save this. Right, let's remove risk now and see if we can't go to target. Oh, don't do this to me. All right, there's the end of my trade. Thanks. Trying to get back in, and it looks like it doesn't want me to get back in. Look at that. One tick. Unreal. Hmm. Oh well. We'll set up for another entry. Thanks, Dustin. That was hard. I'm telling you, that was hard to get in right here on this candle, and then to hold through all of this. Jeez. Hopefully, some of you are still in and didn't move your stop loss like I did and get stopped out. Yeah, let's take a peek at our friend ES and see where it is. Okay, so ES didn't take the New York low. It failed to do so. Whereas Nasdaq took it right here almost immediately. Yep. Yeah, for anyone wondering, the New York low is basically pre-market along with the first 30-minute opening range. So it's from 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. All right, let's see what's still available. So we have the New York high has not been swept. And actually is that the New York high? I need to check my parameters. That shouldn't be it. But we have the Asia low. We still have the midnight open. The Asia high has not been taken. And then I think this is the previous day high. Oh no, previous day high is here. And this is all on the S&P. So there are lots of levels, especially up high. So Asia high and London high have not been taken. So those will be levels to keep an eye on as we go throughout our day, not to mention the regular trading hours, regular trading hour gap. You know what, let's bump up to 5 minutes. Let's go back to Nasdaq, just see where it is right now. Okay, still hasn't made a lot of progress. So I guess not too upset. I'm not in the trade any longer. But we did just have another retest of the breaker here. All right. Anyone going against the grain? Anyone shorting right now? See, this is 3 minutes. But yeah, you're right. So you got the 1 minute higher high, and you say ES didn't make it. Yeah, you're right. Need a lower high there. Lower high plus, like I said, ES never took out this New York low here. Okay, going back to Nasdaq. Took two small shorts, but I didn't need anything right now. Got it. Okay. All right, Fauci. Good job. All right. Looks like everyone who was either in a short or long, we're all out of our trade now. This little area here has managed to trip up everyone. I'm sure it's by design, so don't feel bad. All right. For anyone in a long, just be careful. Just make sure we don't have a three drives pattern here. Yeah, I didn't trust this trade, which is why I moved my stop loss and all the heat I was receiving in here, holding and holding and holding. Once it broke out, I couldn't keep my stop loss down in this area any longer. And that's why trade went off without me. Yeah, it's one of the toughest things to do, Fauci. If you think about it, it is one of the toughest things to do. But honestly, it gives you the greatest chance for success in this business. Mm. Oh, Prakash, good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Good to have you. You just missed a long I was in that didn't that basically stopped out in small profit. So I think I got $100 per contract. I had two contracts, so I didn't make too much on it. And now it's running to the profit I wanted before. So I got stopped out, and now it's moving in that direction. Um, But again, welcome to the channel, and we'll see if we can get another setup before it's over this morning. That would have been where I wanted to exit. So it has gone and met up with these relative equal highs. Let's see if there's another target somewhere close. Yeah, obviously, we always have this area here. And then you have the fair value gaps in between. So you just want to make sure that it's able to get through those price levels. Let's go back with the gap for the regular trading hour. So we're not even there yet. The regular trading hour gap starts at 828. And that's what Dustin was talking about, how on ES, price was already at the lower portion of where the regular trading hour gap is. Right, so if we switch over to ES, in fact, it's already in the gap. It's in there. And you're looking for it to fill in as much as possible. As a minimum, you're looking for it to fill in half of it, but you want to see it go up to 75% and then complete the entire area. Right, from where we are now on Nasdaq until the top of this, the top of the regular trading hour gap, we're talking almost 200 points from here. So if we are to close that in, we're looking at a significant rally, which we should be able to find an entry in somewhere and carve out our own 30, 40 point move. All right, Prakash. If you have any questions, just let us know. Otherwise, I'll continue to talk about the charts as I see them, talk about the setups as I see them, and yeah, we'll go from there. At the current moment, my bias is bullish. Yes, at the for the short term, I was more bearish on the full day this morning, but in the short term, now that we have turned around at this lower end, we made a essentially we had this high here, and this is on the 5-minute time frame. We had this high here, which needed to be broken for there to be a shift in market structure. And now we have that. On the 1 minute, it happened much sooner. So on the lower time frame, it happened here. So when we had this move right here at 10:07, this is why I entered on the next candle. Because once I saw this, that turned me to be bullish. And so I then took an entry here in order to go up. Price, unfortunately, did a consolidation on me, gave me a little bit of what I was looking for, and then it retraced back on me as I shifted my stop loss. So I got stopped out in here. And then, of course, it went to target, which is the 5-minute shift in market structure level. So this level at 780, where I would have exited my trade and took a take profit. Now on the 5-minute, this is where we see a market structure shift. So we now are expecting higher prices. And the fact that we know from 1800, we've just completely sold off. We have this regular trading hour gap here, starting right here and completing here. So essentially from this 5-minute candle right here, which is the 9:30 open, so your opening bell, from there all the way up here, that area we expect a minimum of 50% to be filled in, but in most cases we'll see the entire thing filled in. So the fact that we're bullish now and we're taking out some levels on the lower time frames, we want to continue to monitor price. If you're in a long, you should be in deep profits now, because you should have taken your entry down here in the lower level. So you want to protect your profit, protect your entry, but we are expecting prices to continue higher in the short term. And I'm taking a look at the others, and we still see bullish prices coming from ES, also from the Dow, and bearish price this hour for the dollar. So everything's moving the way that we would like them to, and we just want to continue to see how high price is willing to go. I'm not saying that it's going to go here right now. It could do this at 3 o'clock this afternoon. But as we watch market structure, when we see it shift back to being bullish, then we see that this could be in play, and we start to look for entries and set our expectations for that to happen. All right. Thanks, Antonio. Thank you for liking the video and for encouraging everyone else to do the same. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Prakash. So you'll find that even the Indian markets, all the markets are generally run the same way, from what I understand, with these algorithms that delivers price. Um, so I would imagine that Indian markets work very similar to the markets we're reviewing here. And so, yes, you should be able to transfer these skills over to anything else you're looking at, whether it be commodities, foreign exchange, or even crypto. All right, you're in at 757. All right, Antonio. Good luck. Yeah, Fauci, you're right. The bias did switch over to bullish, depending on your time frame, sometime during this hour. And so, yeah, if you're bearish and you're in a short, then you're right. The trades are going against you. Yep. Low. I'm with you there. This is absolutely high resistance liquidity run. Nothing about this so far this hour has been easy. It hasn't really run to any targets with the exception of this one at 780. We got the last run up here on the 1 minute. We essentially got from here to here in about 5 minutes. Outside of that, everything else has been high resistance and not really moving much. Even once we got here, it retraced, came back, made it equal, retraced again, almost equal highs again, and we're just kind of sitting here. So you're right, absolutely high resistance liquidity run. That means low resistance is coming at some point, and we should just be a little bit more patient for that. Hmm. Yep. If you want a long play, just make sure you get one in discount. So make sure you're always measuring price legs, right? And you want to buy below 50%. You want to make sure you're always buying a discount. Gives you the best price. It also gives you the lowest risk if you want to put your stop loss below a swing low. So you want to buy as close to the stop loss as possible. The sweet spot is generally 62 to 78%. So if you can find that area, that's going to be your sweet spot. Yep. Yeah, we all want the money fast. I don't prefer slow moving price either, but that's what we have this morning. Could be because we had so much movement just from the 1800 yesterday. It was just a complete collapse in price all the way down to the levels we're at now. And so that rebuild may be a little slower. But we'll take them as they come, and we'll continue to monitor price, continue to look for our setup, and we'll be ready when it comes. All right. Anyone looking to go long or are already long, just keep in mind what happened here. So we had low to high, right? Then we had another low and a higher high. So then that made this low here the one to pay attention to for a market structure shift, right? And now we've broken that low. So the question is that just a sweep of liquidity? And then are we going to blast through these highs, or are we going to continue lower? So keep that in mind as you're monitoring price right now, is that we did have a sweep of lows after making a new high. Right, we've had 3 tests into this fair value gap now. All rejections so far. About another 30 seconds on this candle, and let's see where it lands. right? We're not bullish again until we get here. So if price does want to continue to seek higher prices, we're going to want to see this high broken. So 786, 787 needs to come. All right. Almost forgot. So we did get the market structure shift during the macro period. I don't like these big wicks above and below the candles here. It just shows a larger range in price than it really needs to. Okay, let's see how it reacts when we get to this fair value gap, assuming it can get up there. Yeah, you're right, Dustin. It's ugly for sure. And these are the moments where you recognize how far you've come, because probably not too long ago, this would have still looked good to you. You would see a fair value gap, you would see an entry, and you'd take it. My dog's not here right now. I think he's downstairs. All right, we're at the fair value gap. Okay, looks like there's a lot of energy here, a willingness to get up into this upper tier here. Let's see if maybe it makes it to the next fair value gap. Five seconds. All right, close above. Close above right now. Right, again, if we can break through 787, we're once again bullish. Doesn't look like that's going to be a problem. And we have fair value gap sitting below us for support for support and an entry. Right, there we go. Pierce through. We had basically a launch out of this fair value gap, and so far there's been 2 created and potentially a third one created along the way for support. Keep that in mind as you look for setups. Yes, I would say the first thing you want to learn is market structure. Start there. Start with being able to look at the market and know whether we are bullish or bearish at that very moment. That's probably the first thing you want to learn, because that's going to support all your decision making after that. So when you learn different setups or you learn other different tools, whether it's indicators that give you entries or indicators that just kind of help you along with price action, you still want to always have a firm grasp of what the market is doing right now, and then what does it take for the market to do something different. So I would start there. Start with the market structure. And then from market structure, you'll learn bias, because all you do is you take market structure and you use your higher time frames. You use your 1 hour, your 4 hour, your daily, your weekly. And just by looking at market structure, you can gain a bias that way. So start there. Nothing on the 32nd. Let's jump over to ES and see what our other subscribers who trade ES are doing. Right, we're talking about the 1 minute. So just 5 minutes ago, ES was down here. Mm. Wow, still quite a ways away as far as just measuring this level on ES. Okay, so it's only about 20% in so far. Let me change this so everyone can see. Okay, so we got 40% here, and it's about halfway there. So yeah, a little bit more than 20, maybe a quarter, 25% or so. Right, dropping back down to Nasdaq. Nasdaq still not there yet, but almost getting right there. So that may be a good place to either have a partial or your TP if you're in a long, or that may be just the beginning and you may want to hold until it's deeper inside of this retracement area. Still inside of the macro period. So it's interesting that price is kind of running away, hasn't provided any retracements back into any of these, any of the fair value gaps if someone was looking for a long setup. And also, we were talking about the low resistance liquidity run. I'm sorry, high resistance. And now it looks like we're at the low resistance portion where it's just candle after candle, no issues, just pushing higher and higher and higher, closing near, I'm sorry, opening, not pushing down very far at all. I mean, the wick on this one is non-existent. This one doesn't have a wick at all. This wick is very short to the downside, short to the downside, short to the downside. So we see all these wicks short to the downside, and we see them closing very near to the high of that minute or that candle So that's really, really strong price action and what we consider a low resistance, a liquidity run. Hmm. Okay. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, 763. I think that's what you're saying, CEO. Yeah, you're right. It was stuck in here for about 20 minutes or so. It was right here on the edge, between 10:35 and 11 o'clock. It was right there, stuck in there. Made consecutive lows every 5 minutes. It went a little bit lower, and eventually got enough momentum to then push higher than the high of those same five candles. And then that's when we saw price run. But we were inside the macro period, and that's why I mentioned when we're in the macro period between 10:50 and 11:10, if we see a break in structure, then we should, get ready for potentially an entry. The first thing we saw was a break in structure to the downside, so I thought maybe we would get a trade up into a fair value gap and then a flush. But the one thing I noticed was that price wasn't going to do that because it never created the fair value gap to trade into. Right? There wasn't one to trade into to go lower. Not to mention we had been up and down, up and down. So this whole price range here is a balanced price range. There was no reason to come back into it. There were sufficient longs and shorts in that area to give everyone an opportunity to trade. And so now price is moving away, moving to an unbalanced area. So here we only have shorts. Now we need to balance it with longs. And that's what we're seeing on this side here. We're seeing price get ready to balance. And then once it balances, it can shoot down and do whatever, or it can continue upwards and balance more price range. But we'll see what it wants to do. Let's go back to 5 minutes so we can see a bit more of where price has been. And let's also go back to electronic hours just so we can see where the gaps are. Okay, so we can see even on the price crash that we had right after the opening bell, took out yesterday, the previous day low. Previous day low is what it took out. Also the London low, right? And then while it was trading, the New York low was created in the very next candle, took that out, and then we saw price start looking for highs. All right, everyone, I'm going to go and get my last cup of coffee this morning. We have about 45 minutes left in our session. Hang tight, and let's see if we can't find us a good entry before the session's over this morning. Just give me one moment. I'll be right back. Where are we now? All right, a couple rejections above this fair value gap back into the fair value gap. So it seems like price is struggling to really get out of this zone right now. So we'll give it a few more minutes and see if it can do that. Okay. All right. You say for your last one, 955. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I like it. Equal highs. Yep. I like because equal highs, and it's a couple points below our new week opening gap, which is likely to be where price may draw to. And you want to get out a couple points before, just in case it just plays around and takes its time getting to that ultimate high. It's not a bad idea. I like it. Let's go. Let's see where the dollar is right now. Mm. Mm. Let's bounce down to the lower time frame and see if there's anything happening on this time frame that we should be aware of. Let me also take a measurement of this leg, this price leg here. Okay, we still barely got a 38% retracement, which is the minimum to be considered a retracement in my book. Um, I like this high that we overtook because on the retracement, that's at the 50% level. So you'd like to see these highs once they're overtaken. You like to see them traded back to and tested. And the fact that this is also a 50% level of a retracement gives me good comfort that trading back to this level is a good idea for price to be balanced. And then maybe we can find a discounted entry for long. And that's if we're long. I'm not saying we're long right now. But if so, that's a good entry point. It looks like this high might be in jeopardy here. So if that happens, what we'll do is we'll just adjust this measurement to continue on. Okay, so far it has not committed. And there it is, just as I speak. All right, so that measurement will need to continue in quite a bit, actually. Oops, gonna move this to here. Okay, it looks like we're running for this next level at 834 and 3/4, which I have marked as about halfway of this wick here. But I'm gonna adjust that and move that to the relative equal highs as a stronger point of liquidity. And that's up at 843 and 3/4. So it's about 9 points higher. I just shifted that bar up. So we'll leave that. We're going to remove the Fibonacci at this point. We'll bring it back if we need it. But for now, it looks like it's seeking higher prices, and we just want to continue to monitor that. In a 30-second, we just had a trade into the fair value gap here and the trade out of it. None of the other time frames show that. It was actually showing this candle that on the 30-second traded into the fair value gap. On the higher time frames, it actually created the fair value gap. Um, no, I don't generally stair step. I generally hold for a bigger move. But for the most part, if you if you hang around long enough, you'll see I typically like to do fair value gap or breaker block entries. So for instance, if I was entering on this fair value gap where these two candles dip right inside of, I would enter at the very top of the fair value gap. So this candle right here, you can see that's where the gap runs through. So I like to go to the candle to the left, which will be this one, and put my stop loss at the lower extremity. So the stop would be here, right? And then I go for a 1 to 2. So this risk reward ratio, I like for that to say 2. And that's kind of the types of moves I like to get, where based on the risk, it has a defined exit that's not always aligned with a pool of liquidity. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like in this price leg, I would have gotten in here. We would have swept these highs, ran up a couple more points, and I would have been exiting on this one candle right here as opposed to holding for this level up higher. So this risk of 8 points would have delivered 16 and a half. And that's typically the type of trades I like to take, unless I'm scalping. And in that case, it's going to be a 1-to-1, 5-point take profit, 5-point risk. And yeah, so the same way, it's a predefined take profit and not really looking at liquidity or anything else on the chart. It's just, trade by trade. Okay, I'm going to move off of the 30-second. Okay, so even the 1 minute did have a trade into the fair value gap. It was just later. Okay. Let's go back with our measurement just in case it starts to retrace. One, two, three, four. Okay, so far we've had 4 candles trade into this fair value gap. Each time we have a rejection above. But then we're also getting a rejection below the fair value gaps above. So wonder if we're going to just trade into this kind of dead zone in the center, or if one of these areas is going to give way soon. All right, let's back out a little bit. All right, no problem, Bob. Okay, looks like we're getting a rejection out of this fair value gap here on the 5 minute. Now we have relative equal highs here from the last 10 minutes of trading. We want to see if those highs are taken, and then we're into this fair value gap above for the first time in the last couple of hours. Really the first time since the opening bell. All right, about 30 minutes left in our session this morning. So we're 2 hours into the New York AM session. And you can see, like I said, we're returning back to those same values. That's to where we started. Here's the 9:30 open at 8:25. We're currently trading at 8:22, 8:23. So that entire area, the entire zone has now been recovered. Hmm. All right, looks like the dollar at the moment does not want to push any lower. It's recovered everything that it lost this hour. So it's now back at its opening values for this hour. Last hour did the same thing. It traded down for most of the hour, and before it closed, it recovered pretty much back to the high of the 9 o'clock. Excuse me, the 9 o'clock hour. So with that being said, I can understand why price is now starting to stall for Nasdaq. Same with S&P. Is that we really need to see the dollar move lower if we're going to see the commodities push higher with little resistance and with speed. All right, so we are actually in this area now. In fact, that 50% zone of this wick that I had marked out before, looks like that's exactly where we're at now. Something, I think it was 33 or 34, 34 and 3/4, I think. It wasn't a precise measurement, so I could have been wrong on that. Let me actually measure it this time. Oh, wow. All right, I was right there. 34 1/4. I think I had 34 and 75. Close enough. Played right off of it. Now it's selling off. S&P is pushing higher, so it's doing good. So is the Dow. All right. The last couple of minutes we've seen the dollar selling, but overall for the hour it's not doing that. Uh, 491. Okay. Old NAS to TP 116 491. Okay, Lee Shi. That's a It's a 300-point drop, 330 or so. Good luck with that trade. Mm. Yeah, I see the area that you're mentioning, Lee. It looks like what happened is once price took over that area back on the, I guess, the 8th of January, to the upwards, to the upside, it started buying and it never retested that level once it broke market structure on the 4 hours. So I can see why you have that area marked up. And again, good luck. All right, I'm just checking the higher time frames just to see if there's anything there that we need to pay attention to or that we need to discuss as we start heading into the lunchtime hour. So we have about 20 minutes before that happens. Didn't really see anything that we need to talk about. We still have pretty much everything above the midnight open has not been traded back to. The London high has, the New York high and above has not. So that's what I'm referring to. It's everything from 908 to about 982 ish. Yep. So that's about 70 points that has not been traded to. So we want to look and see if during lunch or this afternoon, if that's where price can return to, probably more likely this afternoon. But we're going to continue to look at that and look for price to return in that area. Let me also go to the regular trading hours so we can see how large and where we are as far as that gap is concerned. Okay, so we have now entered that gap, but just barely, only by 6 or 7 points. It's down at 825, and it concludes up near 963. Okay, that's quite a range. So we still have a long way to go if we're going to close this gap this afternoon. But at least we have a target and we can look for price to trade in this area. We won't force a trade, but we at least have an expectation, which gives us bias. Let's go back to electronic trading hours, and then we'll stay here. Right. And if we just follow along with price action, it's been pretty sturdy, at least on this time frame. It's been, I mean, it was a little wicky down here, extra long wicks and things like that. But afterwards, we had a small consolidation here, big push up, small consolidation, big candle, small consolidation. Now we'll see if we continue to get a push and if we head into lunch hour, sweeping these equal highs up at 843. Oh no, Golden Satoshi. Um, I hope you're on a demo account. I mean, with 5K being down 5K, yeah, definitely. I hope you're on a demo account. But But yeah, definitely lock into the channel and follow along with us. Hopefully that can help you make a less risky trade, or at least help you protect your capital a little more so you won't lose so much. Also, you want to stay away from over trading. So if you're trying to make your money back, um, it's usually easier to take a step back, reset, and come in the next session. Crypto Queen never came back to the 5-minute breaker for my entry. Now it hit my initial TP. Okay, you say the 5-minute breaker. I don't think I drew a 5-minute breaker, but I think this would be it. Yep. We traded out and never traded back down. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Yep. So Crypto Queen, if you were looking for a trade from 775 and you say this is your initial TP 830, oh, that was solid, 55 point. But there are probably some substitutes that do the exact same thing. It's just the one that I use is one that was designed by someone that they sell. And I was part of the session, TradingView. Toker, yes. If you wait around until 12 o'clock, I'll take a look at gold for just a few minutes with you. 2 hours, well, okay. Good job, Crypto Queen. Yeah, 2 hour works for me. And I find that my entries and the setups that I see are work better than 50%. So 2 hour allows you to be profitable. I'm still working on leaving my stop where it is and trusting my setup. So that's a work in progress, but we're getting there. Okay, you say the 3 minute and the 1 minute. Got it. Okay. Yeah, the good thing about the 3 minute is you were able to catch it over here. Um, okay. So this 3 minute, this is where I entered earlier. And unfortunately, once it started making a move and I moved my stop loss up, it crashed back down on me and took me out of the trade, only to carry on and do what I thought it was going to do to begin with. um, but yeah, Crypto Queen, you're right. It did work out on this 3 minute. Let's go down to the one. I think the one is where I entered on. It sure is right here. So this is where I was entering here. But yeah, you're right. Breakers work really well, and I like them. And then after learning the ICT 2022 mentorship model, um, breakers is just part of the game now. So I really like it. All right, thank you, Toker. Thank you. All right, everyone. We have about 15 minutes left. So if you have any final questions, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Let's go ahead and get that dialogue going now so we can finish up any of the questions you have before the session is done. Likewise, if anyone's in a position now, let me just look and see if someone came in on this long. Let's see. Okay, looks like 11 point stop. So you'd be looking at a 22, 23 point TP. Wow, came within 2 ticks of cashing out on this one. Yes, everyone. Thank you, Dustin, for reminding all. If you're enjoying the session or if you've been here for a while, please hit the like button. That like button allows YouTube to understand the satisfaction level of everyone in the room, and it will use that to promote us to other traders or to others looking at videos that are similar. So if you could do that and help me out, that'd be awesome. Thank you in advance for that. And anyone, if this is your first time visiting or it's your first time being here for a prolonged period, go ahead and subscribe. And I know that you're looking forward to future live streams, and I just want to make sure that you get all the invites and you never miss us. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. Okay, so it looks like it pushed down to the edge of the fair value gap, to the lower edge, down to the tick. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 ticks short of the lower edge. Now it's building back up. So now let's see if it can continue building and if whether it'll deliver the 1 to 2 that fair value gaps typically deliver. Oh, Crypto Cream, welcome, welcome. Good to have you. I feel like I've seen your name somewhere. I think I've seen you in live stream with Cami Capital. All right, so that fair value gap entry didn't work out. I was just marking that up just in case someone was already in that trade as we head into the lunch hour, just to see where that delivery would end up. But it didn't make it. It now has moved into the stop loss area, trading back towards this fair value gap at 800. Yep, Crypto Queen. We stream every morning at 9:15. So if you have time, usually around that time in the morning, we'd love to have you in our room. And welcome. Good to have you. Thanks. Okay. Any other questions? We have about 10 minutes left. Yeah, Cammy is one of the ones that I watch, and I saw how calm he was. I'm generally calm as well, but I was never able to really hold my trades and be comfortable in them the way that he was, and so that was inspiring for me and led me to getting closer to where I am now. It was by following someone else, so he was a good example for me. All right, let's now see what happens during this time period in the macro is see if something like a market structure shift. We've already had one. Technically, we swept a low here after making a new high. But it could just be a liquidity sweep and we'll see another run up. And so we just want to wait and see if that happens or if it gets stuck on a fair value gap and then we see lower prices. I mean, we already see down here, they're equal lows. Yeah, absolutely. Having someone to trade with you is much better than sitting alone. Not to mention just to have someone to bounce ideas off or make sure that what you see in the market is accurate and not biased based on your own desires for the market. So yeah, I really enjoy live streaming. I also enjoy before seeing other live streamers. You want a better, where can you get a better understanding? Let's see. So there's two places. Let me see. The first thing I think you can do, there's a YouTuber by the name of Hydra. He makes a lot of videos about macros and what to look for. Even has a few setups that you can take from a macro period. So he'll explain that quite well in his videos. But also, if you go into my description, there is a link to a Discord. If you go into the Discord, I have links to a bunch of ICT videos on different subjects. And so you just want to go and find one about macros and just click on the link. It'll pull up ICT's YouTube video and you can go from there. Yep. But D Anderson, for the most part, it's going to be the last 10 minutes of every hour until the first 10 minutes of the following hour. So it's about a 20-minute period. It's only when you get to the end of the day and it's like 3:15 to 3:45 that has a macro period. Outside of that, it's going to be generally the last 10 minutes of 1 hour added on to the first 10 minutes of the following hour. No, it's not hydro, it's hydra. I'll find his page and send it to you. Oops. There you go. And I'll give you 2 links here. Oops. All right, there we go. All right, that should be enough to get everyone started on macros and deeper macro understanding for anyone who's looking for that. All right, CEO, no problem. Hopefully you find what you're looking for there. No problem, D. Anderson. Glad to have you in the room. Again, hope to have you in future sessions. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and throw it in the chat at any time. Myself or some of the other subscribers, we're happy to assist. We're all at different levels, different experiences or different experience levels and times. So we've all been where you are at some point. All right, and now it's 12 o'clock, so that officially ends our morning session. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at gold for one of the members in the chat who asked about it, and then we'll close off and we'll come back at 1300 for the afternoon session. So for everyone who's dropping now, I want to thank you for joining this morning. Thanks for being here. It's a really good session again, and I hope to see you again either this afternoon or for a following session tomorrow. So thanks for being here. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing, and cheers. Thank you. All right, let's get over to gold now. All right, so I believe this is Toker FX. Did you have any specific questions about gold? Like what exactly did you need? All right, let me give that another try. I'm not sure why YouTube is not allowing me to actually put the link itself in. It's just, so it's the same thing. It's exactly the same. But yeah, those are the titles of the video. So if you just search those titles, and keep in mind, it's going to be a video from Hydra, and it should pull them up. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why it won't let me actually put the hyperlink in for you to click on. All right, let me just take a look at gold quickly. All right, let's get an outside view. All right, so we had relative equal highs, it looks like, and this is the daily all the way back to 2020. We saw gold take a high here on the 4th of December. Okay. All right, so that would be your 50% mark there. Structure break would take place at this location. Hmm. All right, so we've had a trade back down now past 50%. We did it last time to 71%, bought out of it, did not create a new high, didn't even make it to the wick or the 50% of the wick here, that wick high. We now see it breaking down even further. So if we've already gone down to 71%, the 78% is probably in play, maybe even this 88% retracement. All right, let's come out of here. First thing that we had was these equal lows were swept first here. Retracement back up, and now that's been broken. So we're going to have a continued push down. We could have a settlement here where we settled before and see another push up. I'm not optimistic we're going to get a new high out of that. So even if we get a push here, it may go up and then fail somewhere in here, and then we're going to shoot down again. But in all likelihood, we're going below here if gold wants to go higher. If it wants to go higher, it's going to go lower here. And yeah, that's my take on gold at a very high level. Let's drop down and see where we at. Yep. For anything lower than the daily, let's see that gold has already broken structure to the downside and become bearish on these lower time frames, anything under the daily. And unless it recovers this level, it's going to continue to push down. So yeah, I feel pretty confident that gold's going to not hold in this fair value gap, and we're probably going to see a retest of these lows over here. Here on the 4-hour, we also have equal lows here. So it's another area to pay attention to for a retest. Yep. All right. Yeah, at a very high level, that's what I see going on with gold. I don't see it pushing any higher anytime soon, unless it makes a really energetic move and we get down here in the next couple days. If that doesn't happen, then I see gold trading in this area for some time until it retests this level, and we'll see how it reacts when it gets there. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for gold. I've never traded it. This is my first time really looking at it. So please keep that in mind. But yeah, you can see it's sweeping lows. It hasn't really been bullish since it was up here or even over here. Yep. So yeah, if you're looking for upside on gold over the next couple days or so, I'm not really seeing a huge upside. Not before going lower. So that's what I got on gold. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, so Sergi for fair value gaps. It's this one right here. It's called FVG, right? FVG Nephew Sam. That's the one. It's free on TradingView, and it will allow you to do the fair value gaps automatically. These are my settings. I have it just on chart, so whenever I switch between the different times, it'll redraw the fair value gaps on just that time chart. If you like are stuck on one where you always want to see what the 15-minute fair value gaps are, you can select one of these options, and no matter what time frame you move to, it'll leave the 15-minute on your chart if that's what you selected. But I just choose this one so I can bounce around and not have fair value gap on top of fair value gap. But it's completely your choice. Let's see. I extend the boxes. I put it out 300 candles on a lower time frame. That's really not a whole lot. That's like a day, 300 candles. But you can decide how many candles out you have it, the size, color, all those things. But this is the most important option that I use I just want it on the current frame, whatever I'm looking at. I just want the fair value gaps there. Hope that helps. All right, team. Okay. Thank you very much for a good session today. I really do appreciate it. You have no idea. But I'll be back in 50 minutes. So if you just give me this time to recharge the batteries a bit, I'll see you guys all at 1300 and we'll run a good afternoon session. Hopefully we find a good setup and we're able to finish the day in profit. Talk to you then. Take care, everyone.